Well, leave it up to the Chicago Bulls to keep me working. The Chicago Bulls, who had an open two-way roster spot after converting Ernulot Batum to a full NBA deal, have just signed Andrew Funk. Who is Andrew Funk? What could he bring to the team? We're going to talk about all and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content. So the Chicago Bulls, converted Ernulot Batum to the main roster, which was something that I kind of talked about at the beginning of the season that I would like to see happen at the end of the season. And while we're sitting here waiting now to see if that means Billy Donovan is actually going to use Batum on the actual, main NBA roster, the Bulls have now filled the void left in his two-way contract spot by signing Andrew Funk. Now, this is a guy who played 5 years in college. He's down in the G League. He's one of the best shooters right now down in the G League as well, shooting the ball extremely well. And when you look at his stats in the G League, he's only 24 years old. He's played 20 games. He's averaging 13.4 points per game. And the thing is his three-point shooting. He's averaging 9 three-pointers per game, but hitting that at a 39% clip. He's only taking, a few shots a game, 11 shots a game anyway. So the fact that 90% of his shots basically are coming from the three-point line, and he's hitting that at a really good 39% clip. If he did that at the NBA level, he'd be one of the most heralded bench players in the NBA. Now, I don't think anybody's expecting that to happen, right? But what it seems like this Bulls team yet again is doing is trying to fill maybe future voids with using these two-way contract slots to take a look at players in their G League system and maybe bring and develop them up. Now, I've talked a lot about here how the Chicago Bulls are going to be close to that luxury tax next season, especially if they bring back both Patrick Williams and DeMar DeRozan. They're going to have to fill out the rest of any spots or bring anything with a lot of vet minimum players, or they're going to use players that are younger and are on unproven deals. And keep in mind, they have their own first-round draft selection as well, which is going to eat into that cap space even further. So the Bulls seemingly, by this move, are trying to bring in a shooter, one of the better shooters in the G League, per what he's been able to do, and maybe develop that to maybe be something next season or any other season if they need it. Now, that's not guaranteed, right? We know with the Chicago Bulls, they sign players, they don't use them. It is what it is there. We'll see what it comes down to. But Andrew Funk in college, who's played with both Bucknell and at Penn State, was a really solid shooter there. Matter of fact, his last season in Penn State, which was the 2022-23 season, he shot the three ball down there at a 41% clip, taking 7.5 three-pointers per game. Matter of fact, his last 2 years in college, both 7.5 three-point attempts per game, hitting that at 36% in 2021-22 and then 41% in 2022-23. So not anything prolific there, right? He's not amazing. Over his whole collegiate career, he averaged 11.5 points per game. He shot the three ball 35% over his whole career, averaging 5.8 three-pointers per game. And then he shot the ball 51% overall from the field. So this is a guy who can shoot the ball and be an effective guy. But, the Bulls also signing Ryan Arcidiacono down to the G League as well, who he's back in Chicago. Shout out to Archie being back in Chicago. But this isn't something that I'm going to say is going to make a huge hell of a lot of difference for the Chicago Bulls. But that's just at the bare minimum. It seems like the Bulls now, when you look at their two-way contracts, it's now Andrew Funk, who a three-point shooter. You got Henry Drell, who also is a three-point shooting specialist down there so far. And you got Adama Sanogo, who could be the one to come up, and maybe they look to get some backup center minutes just because of how cash-strapped this team is going into next season. Only a few G League games left, right? You don't have a whole hell of a lot of games left, so this is something for the Bulls to really take a look at him the rest of this G League season. Maybe take a look there, but this Bulls team has not done anything per what people thought. With the new open two-way contract spot, I thought that the Bulls may take a look at a player that still had some development, maybe even a Killian Haize, somebody who I wouldn't necessarily want to sign to an NBA contract, but could, as a development piece down in that G League, maybe bring something. But they decided to go kind of an unknown thing that nobody would have expected the Bulls to bring in here. And we'll see what happens, man. He, like I said, a really solid shooter. He's averaging 13.7 points per game down in the G League, 39% from three-point range, over 9 3-pointers per game. So that is a skill that the Bulls do need. It's just, will he be able to bring it at that needed level? But again, this could be a lot of nothing. This guy could end up not even being, you remember Javon Freeman Liberty? This guy could maybe not even be on the G League roster next year. But guys, let me know what you guys think of the signing, as always, down below. Bulls just keep me working. And the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls. So I got to bring you the news, no matter how big or small. But make sure you guys are following the channel at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullscentralpod@gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you right if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.